It's time to leave the desert savannah behind and enter a lush tropical jungle. Welcome to Far Cry 3. There's no dinosaurs, but it's kind of a jungle thing.
It's like a jungle.
So it's the Ryan's Jurassic Park. You play Jason, who along with his friends finds himself captured by a crazy Mohawk slave trader slash mass murderer known as Vass.
They come and they blindside you every fucking time. So they say to me, they say, Vass, who the f is it going to be? Them or me? Me or them? like you know, like they fucking think that I need to make a fucking choice. By the way, this lighter really sucks.
After you escape the slavers' compound, it's up to you to rescue your friends and also liberate the islands from tyranny. But there's just one problem. Your friends are mega douchebags.
To my father's black card, to my black card. Woo! God, I haven't done Sambuca since I was 20 years old. Yeah!
Yes, Jason and his friends are douchebags. At least that's the impression you get from the rather stylish intro, but you know, I guess it's kind of like the setup to a slasher movie, so I didn't mind so much. Plus, at least the girls weren't douchebags. They were just a bit boring.
I hated them all so much, Hex. Out of all of the NPCs I have rescued this year, this guy is the one I wanted to rescue the least.
Thanks for saving me. Hey, nice tats, man. Let's get out of here!
To be fair, you do meet some much more interesting characters in the game, and there are some stellar performances. The motion capture and detail is all much better too than the last game.
So you'll help me?
No, you can only help yourself.
And I found the way the eyes stared into you in that first-person view was particularly affecting. But Hex, I just hated me. I hated Jason, and I think part of it's the writing, but also their voice acting. I just did not like it.
I, saw my friend. Wow, this place is huge. Oh man, it smells like sulfur. That or I have really bad BO.
Yeah, look, I think the biggest hurdle for developers is that you never get to see your own facial expressions or mannerisms.
Goodbye, Lisa.
And yet your character does have a voice and some really dense subject matter to deal with.
That was rough. Harder than I expected.
So that might be the reason why Jason's character isn't that great.
At least generally the voice acting is much better than it was in Far Cry 2, which was like this.
You look like a vocational school dropout. Go out there and see if you can get the engine running. Try not to get distracted between the door and the car. You look like you're gonna drop dead any second. Guard!
It's like they never had time to take a breath.
Far Cry is all about keeping you in the first person. You never leave that view. This has some bonuses and some negatives. It's compelling and immersive being in that view all the time, but it also makes it harder to do out-of-the-ordinary things that aren't in the gameplay.
Hex, I'm starting to get frustrated more and more with games that take control away from you so much when you're not doing anything that isn't just jumping or shooting. Take, for example, this testing facility where you encounter a savage dog. I must have killed 20 of these dogs by now, Hex. But for some reason here, my character instantly goes into a cutscene where he puts his hands up and he backs away, the dog jumps on him, and then you're forced into this brutal and unnecessary QuickTime event where you're stabbing the dog in the neck. It just does not make sense. Those kind of breaks from gameplay I find a bit jarring. I think part of it is you're so used to be doing things when you're in that first-person perspective, and when you've got a game with cutscenes, you know, you sit back and you watch the cutscene, and then when it returns to first-person, you're back into it, and you know you've got control again. But here, you never really know when it's coming.
Yeah, and it takes a moment for you to realise as well, doesn't it? Because you'll try to look left or right, and suddenly you'll realise, oh, I'm not actually in control anymore, and you kind of almost feel a bit cheated. I just wish more games tackled it like Uncharted, where you still have a role to play, you're still actively involved in that movement somehow.
Yeah.
Adding to that, the screen is much more cluttered here, with a GTA-style map in the corner and lots of objective markers. You know, I always felt Far Cry 2's clean HUD had such a unique impact.
Yeah, I love the way that you held the map in your hand and the GPS was on the dashboard. Minimalist.
Having said all that, you can now fast travel to locations you've liberated, so getting around is much easier.
But I think we are picking on Far Cry 3 a little on this, because where this game truly shines isn't in the campaign. It's when you're out in the huge open world, stumbling into events and getting up to mischief. And the movement system is fantastic. The way Jason leaps and slides into a cover, the way he slides down a hill and tumbles out of vehicles, it's all very quick and responsive. I think this is the most reactive and in fact the best movement system in an FPS that I've ever played.
And the vehicles handle much better now too. They drift and struggle uphill, they slide around. And I especially like the free jet skis everywhere. On occasion you'll find a hang glider which lets you survey the land. Which is good because while going off-road may seem like the quickest route, it rarely ends well. And when you reach the second island, you get your own wingsuit. Most importantly, though, the gunplay is heaps better, and there's a lean and peek system that I actually wanted to use.
It takes ages to unlock the ability to carry more than one weapon though, so that does get a little frustrating early on, but at least it forces you to adapt dynamically to the battlefield. As you collect herbs and hunt animals, of which there are many, you'll get skins to upgrade how much stuff you can hold.
Oh, I do enjoy hunting Barjo. If you can get over the fact that most animals are wearing Kevlar, it's thrilling taking down crocodiles, tigers, and sharks.
I took a more grenade and RPG-based approach to my hunting, which I found quite successful.
Oh, yes?
Those poor goats did not stand a chance. It is the circle of life, Hex, but I did feel bad taking out those turtles.
Oh, yeah.
I like turtles, but Badger needed a new wallet, whatever it was I crafted from them.
Look, I just look forward to the next generation of consoles where games like this will be full of AI animal life at every turn.
One of the most important upgrades is the ammo pouches, so you can have a bit more ammo, but Hex, I could not find any boar skins. It took me 2 days to find them. It was so frustrating.
I know, and you can't skip a step. Look, I think the crafting is okay, but it does need a lot of work. We aren't on the final code, so some of the menus aren't finished yet, but it just all feels a little grindy. You know, I think back to Skyrim, and obviously that's a game about exploring and loot, so it's a bit different, but the crafting system is so rewarding and fun in that game. You get excited when you find something new to make. This was just too simple. I think to make the decision to include it, it needed to have a bit more depth.
Yeah, I would have liked to find some more unique stuff out and about, because there are some fun places to explore, but really you're just getting relics and different things which give you XP and cash. I was also only ever a couple of unlocks behind with the skill tree, so I didn't really feel like I had much choice to uniquely customize my character.
No, I actually thought the skill tree was quite good. I mean, there's decent unlocks and more of a focus on stealth this time too, which I really liked. You even unlock the ability to quickly hide bodies if you pull off a stealth takedown. Enemies noticing you is much clearer this time around too. Notifications on screen will let you know if someone is onto you, and you can also throw rocks to distract guards and pick your way around an encampment.
Huh?
The strengths of this game is working out how to take a base down and then putting that into effect. It's thrilling, sitting on a hill and marking targets, sniping a few with a silenced rifle, then moving in to pick off the rest. Bows make for a good silent kill too. And I love a good exploding arrow. The strategy in these base attacks will keep you in the game for quite a while.
Yeah, I really enjoyed sneaking into a base and taking out all the alarms so they couldn't call for reinforcements.
Can't hide from me!
The fire mechanic returns, and I found it useful for distracting guards or funneling them into a certain area. And every now and then you'll see a caged animal, and if you can get that gate open, then that'll wreak quite a bit of havoc amongst the team. We haven't finished the campaign yet, but I think I enjoyed all of these base attacks much more than any of the campaign missions. Even though your buddies always rock up after you've taken out everyone on the base. Thanks, guys.
Well, at least they sometimes dance for you. And they let you steal all their cars.
That's true.
The enemy AI is solid. They'll flank and surround you, so you do have to get used to enemies coming from everywhere, and that's thrilling.
We are coming in from the west.
The story does have some really interesting moments, but it deals with some really dark themes, and I think some of the issues it tackles maybe were a bit unnecessary. You know, I just have a real problem with games throwing things in there for shock value.
Protect my product. You can them, boys, but be gentle.
It is ambitious to try and deal with these kind of issues, isn't it? But I do respect any developer that tries to explore that normal person becoming a ruthless killer within a game. We recently spoke to the writer behind the game, Jeffrey Yahalem, who talked about that journey.
We said, okay, we're gonna take a new kind of protagonist for video games, which is Jason Brody, who's in his 20s and is an everyman. So he's not a superhero, he's not special ops, he's not secretly military trained. He is a kid on vacation with his friends who has athletic prowess, but that's it. And so what happens when that guy is put into a situation where he has to survive minute by minute and save his friends? Will he pick up a gun? And how does that affect him? When Pat, the creative director, and I met about the game, the first thing that we decided was we want this game to be about shooting, which sounds like obvious, right? Because that's the central thing you do in the game. The mechanic is that you're shooting. But almost every shooter out there in the past ignores that.
What is it you desire?
To save my friends.
Are you sure?
I want to kill Voss and Hoyt.
Pat has always said from the very beginning, this is a story about a normal guy who picks up a gun and that can't end well. Let's make a game about shooting and what it does to humanity. And so this game is our statement, and it is a very clear statement about what we feel shooting means. And we're hoping that after this game, the game industry can kind of get past it and do new stuff.
The map editor returns, which is good. There's also versus multiplayer, which we couldn't test out before launch, but we did have a quick go of the co-op, and it seems quite solid, and there's a bit of depth to it.
Yeah, we reviewed the PC version, but we also checked out the console version as well, and I have to say I was expecting it to look a lot better.
Yeah, me too, especially after those E3 demos. But happily, when everything is running on full on PC, it does look very pretty, and we had a bit of trouble keeping that stable, but I think that's just because it's not final code. There's lots of detail in the jungle and environments, and it's so atmospheric when a storm hits. This is a very big game, so we've only just made it to the second island, but I like this island a lot more, Hex. It's less dense and tropical and more Jurassic Park. And the gameplay does mix up a bit here too.
Can't kill anyone, can't put them on alert.
After you complete an unnecessarily overcomplicated stealth mission, you get a costume, which means guards won't attack you unless you trespass or do something weird.
How's it going?
The sunsets and sunrises are just beautiful too. You know, I really warmed to this game over time, Barjo, especially once I upped my arsenal and just went exploring. I do think we have been a little bit harsh in this review, but it's only because we were expecting so much from it, and unfortunately I think Far Cry 3 was a little bit of a victim of its hype. But I'm still giving it 8 out of 10. It was a great experience.
Yeah, look, there were a few things that got on my nerves, but I still want to see it through to the end, and I do like taking down those bases, so I'm giving it 7.5.
This is your stop! Fly, Jason, fly! Are you sure this Wingsuit works? Trust me!